Hello and welcome to Portable Vibes. This is the first stream that we're doing in a while. Going straight on Twitch and on Substack this time around. And it had to be one of the first people that I met in the media area here in the UK over 20 years ago when I arrived. And we've been working together for a while. So, welcoming, of course, Marcio Delgado. Hello, Marcio. How you doing?
Hello, Yuri. Thanks for having me. And yes, as you well said, over 20 years. We met in the very early 2000s when I also was kind of starting in London.
Yeah, it was that was 2004, wasn't it? When we were both,
2004, yes, I was here already since
yeah,
2002, but it was in 2004 that we met working for a Latin America publication. They had all the titles, but we were working specifically for the Brazilian news, isn't it?
yeah,
That for those ones that are not connected to the Brazilian community, basically since the 2000s, we have weekly newspapers printed and of course online, and they are always outside like tube stations and trains and things, so people always had access. Like we have a metro newspaper, we also have ethnic ones in different language, and that same group that was called Express Media, they also had titles in different languages.
hmm
And you probably, I think people that are in London at least for, let's say, 5 years, they probably saw some of the publications in Polish, in Spanish, in Portuguese. There are lots of them, especially in central London, if you are around Covent Garden or other areas, very central.
yep. And there we were looking the one working the one specifically for the Brazilian population
Yeah.
in London. The newspaper itself actually went to other cities as well. Didn't I forgot? Was actually one.
Yes, they were also in the north of England. They
Yeah,
were in Brighton. I think in total was back then over 200 locations across the UK. Of course, most of those locations where people could pick up a free copy. They were in London because most of the sponsors they were in London. The major companies, especially the telecom ones, the money transfer ones, they were based in London.
yeah.
So, but as you said, yes, they were all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So that actually brings me exactly where I want to go with this, because when we started together, working together, we did loads of stuff with media. We worked two newspapers together. One was actually a newspaper magazine, Jornal Agora, wasn't it? And
Yes.
we did also, and then we moved to the digital era, working with EuroNews Week. So uh, just going from there, what do you think is the difference? How do you think is very different working on those two types of publication? Three actually, because we started on a newspaper, printed newspaper in the early 2000s, going straight after to a tabloid style, and the difference that we have working on the digital era on Newsweek, and of course you have another project that you're going to be talking about as well, isn't it? So
I guess. I guess your people, I hear a lot, I probably do also hear a lot, people saying, oh, it's so much easier today because of the digital, because of the internet, everything is so accessible, you can just Google things, you can use chat GPT, artificial intelligence. I find it more difficult, even though back then in the early 2000s, and again, for those of you that are not into media landscape or are too young to remember 20, 25 years ago. Back then, if we wanted to get some information, you're going to remember that. We had to actually pick up the phone and call someone. We had to go there to knock their door.
yeah,
We didn't have WhatsApp. We didn't have Instagram. I think Facebook came the next year, 2005. So basically,
yeah,
we actually had to do everything from scratch.
yeah,
There was no shortcut. There was no artificial intelligence, chat GPT, or any sort of thing or tool that would help you to produce the news, to check some sources or something. So I find that even though with all those challenges that I just mentioned, I still find that was easier because also we have to remember because the internet was not as strong as it is now, and because not everyone had like a smartphone or access to it, we didn't have as much fake news as we have now.
Yeah.
Right now, I have to double check, to triple check everything, because people not only they say a lot of things that are not true, but sometimes, especially in business, because they have like PR companies behind them, they have agencies, they write those press releases that they so crazy in a way that is so unrealistic, with so many claims that you really have to dig to find, are those claims actually true? And
Yeah.
lots of those companies also they use artificial intelligence to kind of um, buff up
Yeah.
the press release, to make the press release more fantastical, more like full of imagination, let's say.
Yeah.
And we know that artificial intelligence you cannot really trust 100% because they make a lot of mistakes, even though they
Yeah.
were trained using real books and real articles, and but also the artificial intelligence was trained using lots of things just over the internet, and lots of them they were unchecked and they are still unchecked.
And it's
So
not
I
only
find
that.
it a lot difficult nowadays having to do all those layers, not only double checking, triple checking, but also having to almost have to rewrite everything because it comes sometimes you're in a language. Because I work with content every day,
Yeah.
I can spot from miles away when something was written not by a human but by a robot. Artificial intelligence, they use words that we don't use in our normal, like we are
Day-to-day
talking here.
activities. Yeah.
It's very, very polished. It's too polished. It's not the way that we really talk on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And also, they use lots of dashes and so you can spot it easily if you work a little bit with artificial intelligence, AI. So it's more difficult because now not only you have to double check, well, every journalist should double check everything, but also you have to filter a lot what you get in terms of content. And then, of course, because it's 2026, everybody has access, everybody has a very strong broadband, you are bombarded a lot more with
With
junk,
information.
with lots of emails. I don't know your emails. I have kind of six emails, and all of them, I get so many things from companies that I never heard about, that I'm sure that I never met them, I never gave them my details. But
Yeah.
even so, even though I get a lot. So
I
back,
was I was thinking about that today about my my Google account, which has
yeah,
2%
yeah, yeah.
free now. I'm looking at the emails. What the hell is that? God Almighty.
I had
Uh,
to upgrade my Yahoo last week because they were threatening me not to have my more access because now you have 15 gigabytes quota, and I
mhm.
was way over 100 gigabytes of emails. So that's one of my six emails. So I had to upgrade, and now they are charging. You have to pay a little bit. Well, all the companies they are trying to monetize anyway.
Yeah, as you do. Sorry, I interrupted you. You're talking about the difference.
No,
Yeah, go
no,
on.
no. Basically, it's that. It's more difficult. Although people say it's easier because you have more access, you have more online sources. You cannot really believe those sources online. You still have to double check anyway, and you get a lot more of distractions online. Lots of people reaching you through the social medias because we didn't have social medias, because we didn't have internet as strong as it is now.
Mhm.
It means people would have to pick up the phone, or they would have to send you by post, or we would get press release via fax. For those ones that don't know what a fax is a machine that
There
prints
you.
a message. Basically,
It's a
yes, I'm
printed
that old.
email. It's a printed. It's the
It's a
emails
printed
from our
email.
generation.
Some
This
of
was how old
people
we're getting.
listen to us. They may will say, but emails they were around in 2024. What are you talking about? Yes, they were. The problem was because we didn't have smartphones, we would check the email on a proper desktop or laptop. It means you
Yeah.
would be at work or at school or university. You would have to get home or to a cyber cafe. Do you remember the internet
Oh my God, cyber
cafe?
cafes.
Yeah, we would have to go
You don't
to.
even see those anymore.
No, they
Yeah.
gone. So we would have to do it. So basically, if I sent an email to, let's say, because I wanted to interview someone from the embassy, I would have to send the email. But I would have to pick up the phone and call them to say, look, I sent an email. When you have a chance, please have a look. So it was pointless because if you didn't tell them that you sent an email, they would not check the
They
email
wouldn't do it.
anyway.
Yeah, it's not
Because
something that you're used to check out once a day, wasn't it?
once a day,
Yeah,
yes, if much, once a
yeah.
day.
No, it just gone completely crazy now because now you're just sending not just an email, but messages from
Yeah.
all over the world using WhatsApp, using Telegram,
WhatsApp, that's free. Yeah.
and you can send messages for free from for all over the world. And you're checking. Don't even know if we use forums anymore. But you got the Facebook. You got messages from everywhere where you can bombard people when you want to, get
Yeah.
hold of them. But yeah, I remember how different things were. One thing in particular that I remember is we're sitting at the office in London Bridge when we were working at Brazilian News, and all of a sudden we start hearing all the things about the London bombings, for example, and we're like
Yeah.
deciding what to do, who's gonna go where, who we have on the street. If we have someone
Yeah.
on the street, how are we gonna get in touch with them to go and do something like that? I remember grabbing my camera and just running to the London Bridge station where people were running out of it so I could go and take some pictures. And even then, after they cordoned everything up, so we could actually use the pictures that I took on that day, I had to go around because they cordoned it all up. And now people just go and take a little snap with your phone, send it to the editors, and they go live straight away.
Much faster, isn't it? The information
It
is
is.
faster.
It is, and I think
Um,
that's what makes it so much more difficult to control what's true and what's not. It's not just a question
and
of
dangerous as
AI as
well.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can very much frame anything anyway, you
Yeah.
know, very quickly before it can be verified. And because we are in this race of actually having the information out there so much quicker, it just gets out of control, isn't it?
True. Totally, totally. I remember it was 2005, the
Yeah,
bombings that you're talking about. In July 2025, we
yeah,
had a massive attacking, coordinated attack in several parts of London. Several
yeah,
people have died, and it was pretty serious. But the internet was not as strong as it is now.
yeah,
Things like that now escalates very quickly, Yuri, because people post there, and it's like fire. Things go viral.
yeah,
Back then, viral would be like a gossip or something like that, that people would start telling to others and to others and to others. But we didn't have anything as big as we have now: TikTok, Instagram, even YouTube. So everything was pretty much grassroots, really.
yeah. And yeah, it's just going to getting out of control and the speed that things are going at the moment, really. Um, Thinking of that, right? What do you miss from the 2004 2002 newsroom culture uh, compared to what it is now? Because I think we're pretty much all working from home and getting in touch. What do you miss from those days?
I think it's exactly that. I think, and that I cannot only blame the time. I also blame a lot COVID.
Yeah,
Since COVID, especially, we are much less outside and much more in front of a screen, in front of a computer. And we are traveling less as well because since COVID, they cut lots of budget. So we're traveling less, we're going out less, we're meeting less people. So it was more social, not in the social sense of digital social media, that you like a picture, that you leave a comment in a post from someone that you haven't met for 2 years now or
yeah,
more. But it was people would gather together, people would go out after work to a local pub, and that specific newsroom that we worked together in London Bridge,
yeah,
half of the London Bridge that it is as it is now didn't exist. The station was much smaller 25 years ago. That expansion, it came after. So we had offices nearby, we had pubs nearby, and we would go out after work, even though we would finish pretty late some of the days of the week, especially the days that we had to send the newspaper to print that was in Stratford.
hmm
But yes, it was. I think that's what I miss the most, the social side of it. People had more time in the sense of nowadays every piece that you produce, the editor expects you to also to make a little video, to send an extra photo for a post online. Back then it was one piece, one article, one story published.
Yeah.
So everything had a different speed as well. Because we are so much more overwhelmed and so many job cuts as well in media specifically, people are working more. People are really, really struggling in terms of, when I say people, journalists, is struggling in terms of creating content all the time and in a bigger scale. And I think that's why as well that people are not going out anymore. People don't have the time. Social media takes a lot of time
Yeah.
out of people's hands.
It's weird, isn't it? Because we used to not have a lot of time back then. Oh, I think we got a bit.
I think your camera frozen a little bit.
Less time now.
Hey, it's fine. Yeah.
Marcio?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're frozen. Give me a second. Let me see if I can unfreeze you. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
I think you're frozen again.
Good, good.
Oh, now you're back.
No, I'm
Of
all right
course.
now.
Yeah, you're all right now. Yeah. Yeah, of course you can count with all the little gremlins happening on the first one. Right? Hey! But anyways, I was gonna say, it's funny because we used to have less time for everything, and still had time to effort to do everything.
Yeah,
You know,
I
because
agree.
longest working hours, and we still go out and we still do things and we still
Yeah.
have a life. Now
Yeah,
that we have time for everything, we have less time for anything
I
because
know.
everything is getting consumed. It just doesn't make sense here for me.
It doesn't make any sense at all. I always think about that as well. It doesn't make sense from the logical point of view, the 24 hours of the
Yeah,
day, how we use it now. It doesn't make any sense.
yeah, exactly. So I have a bit of a more serious question for you. Uh, what
Shoot.
sort of principles guide your decisions as an editor, as a broadcaster, with all this experience that you have? Anyways, what sort of principles will be guiding you on that?
Always, Yuri, and that's something that I always did because I went to university for 4 years to start journalism. I always try to listen to both sides of the story. No
Yeah,
matter how fantastic and perfect and beautiful and polished the story is when it comes to you, when arrives at your desk,
mm,
double check because sometimes, especially when the story is too good to be true, sometimes probably something is wrong there. So double check, double check, and trying to reach out to the other side of the story. And
yeah,
also, one of the reasons that I do it, and I always was very careful, is because when you do it, even if you just send an email to give the other side of the story the right of reply, the right of response, uh, legally you're doing the right thing because if the person or the company does not reply to your request to hear their side of the story, then it becomes their problem. You're still gonna go ahead and publish the piece. But
yeah,
if you never listen to the other side, you really taking sides by not giving the other side a chance to defend themselves or to explain from their point of view why a customer is complaining about a service, why someone is complaining about a working colleague, or any sort of story that you really have to listen to both sides to see if they match. Because that's my main principle. The sides of the story they should match.
yeah,
If you interviewing someone about a story that is a report or someone really complain about something or a company that's doing something wrong to the customers or the environment, um, you should really make that story in a way that the person reading is up to the person reading or watching to make up their mind, to pick up a side, but they only will be able to have that informed decision, to have the chance to pick up a side, if you show them both sides of the story. And
Yeah,
then let the reader to decide who is right, who is wrong. It's not up to the journalist to be picking up a side and to pointing who is right or who is wrong. Always, I am always guiding wherever I write, Yuri, by the principle that the reader should be provided enough information
yeah,
so they could make their decision. And to do that, you have to listen to both sides.
yeah. That comes again with what we're talking beforehand about the way AI just picks things up and all that, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Not right. And one of the things that I haven't mentioned to anyone, I've been working training AI for a little bit, for a couple of months now. And the way it works is not just picks up stuff from the internet, but you force AI to create things, and then you need to go and check the facts on it.
yeah,
But even that, it's very subjective because you have like 50 people checking one fact sometimes, and each of the 50 people are going to have their own ideas on the subject.
yeah,
So if the person is not really well tuned into reality, that's the fact that it's going to get checked is still wrong.
yeah,
So that's why it ties in so well to what you said about not trusting too much on the newsroom stuff that you arrive
yeah,
that you get in, because it's a lot being done by AI. But at the same time as well, there's also something that's been happening. People have been using a lot, which is the it's a AI writing checker. Um, just to make sure that whatever you're reading, it's not being done by AI. And even those are a bit wrong sometimes. I was talking to
yeah.
some people on Substack, um, the just earlier this week, and how everybody is so infuriated because they sit down and they pour their hearts out into a piece, and then they do the AI checker thing to see how much of it is being written by AI, and it says, "Oh, you are 60% human," but I wrote the whole bloody thing myself. So
You know what, Yuri, what happens, and
yeah,
I went through it as well.
yeah,
What happens that we consume as bloggers, content creators, journalists, we consume so much media, we read so much that our brain starts to almost write in a SEO friendly way. Very
yeah,
short sentences, and the punctuation that we use, we check via specific tools,
hmm,
two different ones. We check every piece before we publish, especially when they come from contributors.
yeah,
And sometimes it flags as AI. And when it did happen with one of my pieces that I knew that I had written it personally, I went to double check what was happening. So I then went to a different tool, and the problem was with the interviews actually. What did happen is I had asked the person that I was interviewing to send the answers by email.
hmm,
The person then used ChatGPT to write her answers. I copied and pasted her answers without editing into my piece.
yeah,
When the AI tool was checking, it said something like, as you said, 65% human. The other bit was not really human because, but I didn't know until I went. So even that, even when you interview someone using the internet, using giving the person the chance to send the answers to your question via email, sometimes they use um, ChatGPT, for example, or
to give you the
Copilot from
response. Yeah,
Microsoft. So, and then if you just copy and paste that into your piece will be flagged as not 100% human.
yeah,
And so it happens not as often, thanks God, but it does happen that you write a bit of content that you proud of,
yeah.
that you're happy with the result, and then when you go there, the AI tool checker is not very happy with you.
Yeah, I find it very interesting what you said. We start thinking SEO focus, and that's so right. Even I catch myself editing on my head, even when I'm sending text message.
Right? Even
It's
a post
just,
on social media, we did so many times before we post that
yeah,
post, that caption.
exactly. And I think I came up with a, and it may be wrong, but one thing that I want to do on Substack, for example, is I want to everything just to come straight as it comes. So
Hmm.
I've been forcing myself not to edit along as I go along writing on Substack. If there's a typo, the typo is gonna stay there, because I want it to be raw. But even doing that, I catch myself so much writing and reading a couple of times and again and again and again and making little changes. I'm like, wow, that's not what I decided I was going to do. But it's ingrained in you after
Yes,
working media for so
it
long.
is. It is. I agree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, and you have to actually try not to ruin something that's good with that. Uh, Talking about that, uh, since you've been on the industry for so long, which pieces you think you're most proud of? Why?
Oh, it's so difficult to say that, to mention one because of the time as well that I've been working.
Yeah,
And the piece that I like, either for TV when I produce for TV, or written content or digital content, it really varies according to the time. I remember when I was producing for a Brazilian TV network, I really liked to interview stories of migrants in London,
yeah,
and because they were always so touching and real. And but I also like a lot, and I think my best piece are always about small entrepreneurs, people
yeah,
that are starting with an idea. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur in any country, and it's even more difficult in a country as expensive as the UK. Of course, it's very easy to open a company. You just go to company's house. It's super cheap as well. But what comes after in terms of regulations and taxes and costs is pretty much hard on the small business. And also the tax, they change very fast, they fluctuate a lot. What you know now in terms of accounting, in terms of doing anything, doesn't mean that it's going to be the same next month. And
mhm,
now, especially sole traders, they also now, very soon, we're going to have to start to submit our tax return monthly.
yeah,
So it's not very easy, basically. But when you write a piece, it's not about the business. When you write a piece about a small entrepreneur, someone starting out, it's much more about the story, because the business is about to start or have just started. So there are no story about the business still, but the person behind it sometimes has an amazing reason why it prompted them, she or he, to start that idea, to go out there, to fight all the challenges, and to bring a new component to the market, to get an idea from paper to reality, to bring it to life. And I think that is so good. So all the pieces that I'm most proud of, I would say that are those stories, the stories of people behind the business.
yeah,
Because a business is just a business. You hire, you fire, you try to adapt to the laws, as I said, to the regulations, to all the tax burden that it is to be an entrepreneur in the UK.
yeah,
But it's still just a business. But the people behind them, from the person that created to the staff that's fronting customer service and everything else, those each of those people, they've got a story, and that's what I always dig into when I'm writing.
yeah. We've been talking about what journalism was like in the past, how and what it is now in the present. But where do you think it's going with the next decade, say?
I think people gonna start get very tired. I think they are already starting to get very tired of artificial content, content created by robots, content that sounds and reads fake. I think more and more people gonna try to find ways to read genuine content,
Yeah,
and more, and that's something that's already happening. More and more, the news are gonna be more local. People want to know what's happening next door, next street, in your borough, in your area, because we are so bombarded with what's happening in Israel, in Ukraine, Russia. And of course, it's important to be aware of it, but 95% of the news should not be about what's happening so far from where you are, unless that you are there in the Middle East or in a zone of conflict. We should not have the big major news like the BBC News every day just dedicating so much airtime to the same topics, the same subjects that, yes, once again, it's important to be aware of it. We cannot just alienate ourselves, Yuri, but also we need to know what's going on the street behind your house
Yeah,
with your local community. I think more and more the future is local, the future is next to you. Because you can just go there as well as a journalist, and as you said earlier today, to film something with your phone because it's easier. That is speed of communication, and something in Israel, you can't just go from A to B that easy. Even a broadcaster with a massive budget, you cannot just time travel. You
yeah,
we still gonna have to go through an airport, visas, and everything else, which also brings to me to a point that I always hated the news as we have it today. Most of the news, we have the vision, and we are always fed by the same 4 to 5 major broadcasters. So their vision is the vision of the society. That's what we have.
yeah,
Because they have the big budget to send reporters everywhere, to have people interviewed every single minute throughout the day in a 24 hours loop. So basically, what we see is what 4 to 5 companies want us to see.
yeah.
Make a
And
long
do,
story short.
and do you see the rise on social journalism happening too much recently?
A
Because,
lot.
like you
Yeah.
said, the public generated content, I feel that it's growing so much. Do you think you would ever overtake the four bigger broadcasting companies, for example?
I would not say broadcaster. I think each of them that will adapt to new realities. The broadcasters are already aware of it and trying to adjust to the fact that people are not really spending a lot of time in front of a traditional television or really watching a post on social media when it comes from a big broadcaster. Yes, you still have lots of engagement because of your legacy, because you have so many people that know you as a brand and they follow you. But
Yeah,
lots of people they are now going to TikTok, to YouTube, to find answers to questions that they have when it regards journalism or information or any sort of thing. So what's happening, the digital, the social media journalism, if we label like that, is growing because more and more younger people they are finding their voices as well, and not only young but everyone that has a channel on YouTube or TikTok, Instagram, they can post things and they can doesn't even have to be labeled as journalism. It could be just community service, information, sharing a piece of device, giving people some tip, sharing your own experience, and that's how the big broadcasters they are adjusting. If you watch now how TV is informing, is much more human, is much less like a reporter telling you something, but much more the reporter almost being part of the story and giving their personal view from it as well. That before, the way that we were taught at school, at the university, is the report has to be completely out of the story. You cannot really get involved. You cannot show emotions. You cannot show your side. You just have to report. And more, it's changing because of social media. Because someone that posts on social media piece of information is much more personal, the way because of the format of social media, than the way that we used to see growing up, how TV would inform you. It was so rigid, it was so really square, the
yeah,
way, the language, isn't it? And today, even the BBC, ITV, Sky News is so more human. The approach is so more enjoyable to watch as well
yeah.
because they live what they are telling, what they are reporting on.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. I was thinking now the way we used to see to watch Bonner on the TV. It's Bonner, if you don't
Yeah,
know, is the uh,
yeah.
very well known broadcaster in Brazilian TV, like
William
Oxygen
Bonner.
artists. on his suit, and the intonation that he used to put, like he demanded respect and
Traditional,
all
very
that.
classic.
And how we do the news now. If you're sitting on a sofa, that's where you're gonna be doing it. And I think it's very interesting where things are going. It went.
I like it. I like
I
it.
like it too because it's more human. The whole
So
the
much more
whole
relatable.
is relatable. Exactly, that's the right word that I was looking for. Uh, and I do see the whole social journalism thing going somewhere, and I do hope that it overtakes the big four or whatever, because it feels like it's the people giving their side of the story.
Yeah.
Not to disrespect the profession of journalism at all,
Mhm.
because there's still gonna be the people that are gonna be sieving through all the voices that are be coming from everywhere. Then those are the people that are gonna be okay. This is why it's happening, but that's happening because of that, and this is happening because of that. The people that are specialized on their own fields and they actually be able to influence some of the make that difference of a little bit of the noise. But I see that's gonna be going much quicker, uh, which is a good thing and is a bad thing as well. It's a good thing because we're always gonna be informed, you know, as it goes. But it's a bad thing because, like we said, a lot of people don't really check before saying anything. It's the magic of social media, and you basically just go, vomit
Yeah.
everything that comes out. Some good vomit, some bad vomit. But anyways, well, now something that I'm being excited to talk about. I would love to know what you're working on now. Uh, how uh, how is uh, EuroNews Week going to go into this market and into that way, and what are you consulting, writing, and working on now?
EuroNews Week stays as it is going well, but it's a much wider project because we have collaborators, contributors, and people all over Europe, especially in Portugal, Vienna, Austria, and France and Spain. But it's a project that it just goes, and there are always so much to talk about because Europe itself is so full of stories and amazing things. And it's Europe and the UK, not only Europe but the UK as well.
Yeah.
But then what I felt more and more is to have something that would be more local, something that would be more London, a city that I love. So then it's coming very soon, very, very soon, and September is the aiming. It could delay a little bit, but would be September. The project going to be called Mostly London, and as the name says, it's really is going to be mostly London. 95% going to be London. We will try, wherever possible, Yuri, to have that approach, that very relatable language. We don't want to be telling people what to do or how to do something. We want to, as I said at the beginning, we want to give them both sides of the story and let them to make their decision, but
Okay.
also try to give it in a way that's like a friend, like someone that you know telling you about it. We don't want that very rigid, very classic format of news, even blogs. If you compare old blogs, they were very classic in the way they structure that you had the information. Lots of that because of SEO, of course, but basically, most of the London will be lighter to read, to watch. Even when it's hard news, we will try to give it in a way that is a bit more approachable. I think that's the word that I keep saying, but I cannot think of any other word to describe something. I don't want in any way, shape, or form a project that feels like news, like you could read or watching anywhere else, because there are so many great news broadcasters and media outlet already doing such an amazing job. We don't need another blog. We don't need another news outlet, Yuri, to say
Yeah.
the same thing. We need something different in the sense the way that you approach something, that you tell a story, bring the human factor to it. And again, because of the experience, because of being within media for so long, I will try more and more to be less AI and more human driven. So most of the London are gonna be very much human centered because, as I said, I think people get very tired of the content that they start to read it and they go, "That's AI. I know that that's artificial intelligence." So yeah, that's gonna be a challenge because the media landscape can be quite tricky.
Yes, it has. I wanted to talk a little bit about your book, Threads for Business, which I actually accidentally put on the screen before, and
That's
it's
okay. I just saw it popping up and I thought, what sort of virus is that?
there you go. Yeah, there we
So
go.
yeah, that was, and you know what, Yuri, I was talking to a friend of ours another day, Anna Fletcher, that you know very well. Anna is a journalist, blogger, entrepreneur as well. She has her own company about accommodations. And Anna is from the same time, from 2000s, early 2000s, and is also a journalist, as I said. And she does many things. And I think a lot of what I do since working with you at Brazilian News, you had some sort of influence because up to the Brazilian News project, that was amazing. I was with them for 4 years. I was always very single-minded track or something in terms of I was doing journalism and I thought if I focus and if I just do journalism, I'm gonna do it very well. It never crossed my mind that you can do multiple things. And then when I met you and I met Anna, and Anna was doing so many things. She had a travel blog back then. She had her business. She was working. She was working at the Brazilian News as well. She was doing so many things. And you back then, I think you already had your first child. You were a dad as well,
Yeah,
and you were with your old project, the Uber Volks. You were into photography as well. And of course, writing for Brazilian News and working with the team, the commercial department, you are doing so many things. And then I start to think, actually, I don't have to do only journalism. I can be a journalist, a photographer, a writer. I can do so many things. And that's how it started back then when we first worked together. So the business thread for business, it was a result of so many interviews that I had to conduct on the first year when Threads first came around. That is a meta product. And I had different features. And I was interviewing lots of people because it was something new, the new Twitter or whatever. And so much of what we do an interview, we cannot use in the end because we don't have enough space or time. So it just goes like, it just wastes. And I thought, actually, I could use some of them. So I wrote back to the people, I contacted them, I texted them, and they allowed me, they authorized me to use. So there are over 100 pieces of quotes, interviews from people, business, artists, entrepreneurs, business owners, artists, people that work with charities, homes, and social projects, communities. And it's their experience about how it was, what they did, how they used Threads for that first year, those first 12 months of Threads. It was very strong back then. I don't think Threads is so strong anymore. I think something that came very fast. They had millions of subscribers in the first 7 days was something historical. But then it kind of phased out a little bit. It's still there. It's still very much accessed for many by many people, but
yeah,
it's not the hype that it was when it came around. That literally everybody was talking about Threads.
yeah. It has changed a lot. The whole scope, hasn't it? Because um, Threads, it was a good idea, but it was very derivative from what X wasn't it? And
Yeah,
I, for one, I couldn't see the point on being on Threads. I was on Threads because you are automatically there when you have an Instagram account.
another social media, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm like, I'm just keeping up with so much already. Why would I want to add another one that looks like this other one? But
Yeah.
I, I read your book and it makes a lot of sense. I actually I was gonna pick up the book to actually show it. Yeah, look, I have it. You know, but Amy's been reading it.
Great.
She wants
Yeah.
to. She's
We
been
need
trying to
follow
understand.
up because has lots of things has changed since then. We need a follow up. How is Threads right now in 2026 and beyond?
Yeah,
And yes, I think TikTok's taking over big time anyway. So a
it is,
video content,
and
video
speaking
format.
up, not just so much as coaching and people giving people advice or anything, but as a shop as well, because they're selling. You can sell stuff straight on your stream now,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
interesting. Thread is available on Amazon. I put a link on the chat. Uh,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
if
Yes.
anybody wants it, give me a shout as well.
And just for disclaimer, there's no one single piece of AI involved. Also,
Yes.
because before AI, or 2 years ago, that people are still kind of learning it. So was proofread by a real person. It was written by a real person, and the interviews are real people.
Yeah, so 100% human grown, as it should be.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially a book that's something gonna be around forever. Once it's there, it's there. Yes, I think AI, Yuri, is very good if you needed to use something like a grammar check tool, something to check grammar, something to check if the construction of a sentence is not a little bit clunky. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's not all bad, artificial intelligence, but you have to use it with a pinch of salt. You have to use it as minimum as possible. It doesn't have and should not be the main feature, the main thing, the 95% of what you write or produce be artificial. You still can use artificial intelligence, but in a way that is sensible, in a small measure, small dose, I would say.
Yeah, no, makes perfect sense. And writing wise, what's coming next? Is there a new book, on the?
There is fiction coming later
Ah,
this year. The reason is, again, after I found that I can do so many things, I don't have just to be a journalist, I can be so many things. I'm trying to, and I started actually, I went back to study. I'm part of a group now, like it's weekly workshops learning to write something that's totally different from what I write as a journalist. As a journalist, you're very factual. You have to be double check the sources, as I said earlier today. You pretty much, very much constrained within the story itself. You cannot go too much away from it. But if you write fiction, you can be creative, you can use your imagination. And I was missing something. I was missing being able to not be so within that formula that the journalism requires you to be.
yeah.
So I think that's what's coming up next. But I'm still always, when a project is coming up, like mostly London is coming soon, that project, you think about it, and I think every person that has ever started a project, be it a blog, a book, or a new house or whatever, everyone knows that you plan everything to the single detail. But when actually it started, when you actually launch it, so many things that you didn't plan or didn't expect they happen, and you have to adapt. So there are so many things that I know that I will have to adjust to, mostly London, when we actually officially launch the web version of it. The
Okay.
social medias are up already. We are on Instagram, TikTok, just at mostly.london. But when it actually, the long version of it, the long format version of it, the proper articles start to be published in September, then we know as well how it will be, because the the tools that social media gives you to track content, to measure engagement, are very different from
Mhm.
the tools that you would have from Google Console or any other tracking content for blogs and website and long form content like Substack. So it is very different. You get more data, you get really a very clear picture of what you're doing, what's not working, what you're gonna have to adjust very fast. And that's the good thing about social media. You can adjust very fast if something is going very bad and or it's not getting any traction at all.
Hmm.
So I think in the next few months, going to be a lot of learning because any project, even if you did the same thing over and over again in your whole life as a career, in my case, a journalist, but every time that you launch something new, you start from zero, you start from scratch.
Yeah.
Your experience is going to be very helpful, but your experience cannot forecast what's going to happen, cannot guess, cannot really, you can just more or less have a very basic idea, and then you have to take things from there.
Yeah. So, and do you have a idea of what the fiction book is going to be about, or?
No, because I started from, I think that's a part of my journalism career that, as I said to you earlier today, I always go to for the stories from the human point of view, from the person behind the story, from the person behind the business. So I know the characters that I want, I know more or less the setup, but what I want now and I need, and I'm working on that on my workshop when we have the weekly workshop with my professors and everybody else. I'm working on what would be the best thread, the best topic to bring all those characters together. Some of those characters are a little bit of a blend of people that I met in London throughout those 25 years. Some of them are a little bit drawn from stories that I've heard. So I started very different from most of people that write a book or any fiction. People usually have an idea about a story that nobody have ever told, and then they start to add characters to tell the story. I'm starting from the very different approach of having building up the characters first as the way that I want them, and now I have to bring them to life. I need to have a story, a reason that connect them to and to make people read through.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's coming up with a base behind of everything before you go on the story was gonna go. It's a good way to start.
Yeah,
It helps. It helps because I have a book that I've been writing now for about, I'm gonna go to my fifth year on it, and
wow,
I have the whole story set up. I know where it's gonna be. I know what's gonna be happening. I know how it's going to end. I know,
okay.
but the characters are another story. I know what some of them are going to be. And if we look at my planning for the book, I did it on Trello, and I have where the big story begins, what's happening in the middle. I have all of it, and I know where it ends. So I have one character, and I know what happens to him
Mhm.
throughout that. But
It's so
I,
important, Yuri, to have the characters very clear.
yeah,
So they, but I don't know, I don't say that you should do what I'm doing, to not have the story, just have the characters. But to have the characters so much is so important, in my opinion, because when you know the characters well, it's like a person that you know, a friend, and you will know how they would react in situations that will come within your
yeah,
story. And if something is off, you will your imagination, your mind will say, no, that person would not say
would
that. That
not act that. Yeah,
yes. So
it's
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 been very helpful to build them up because whatever story I decided to put those characters into, I will know how to direct them, how they would react to things, to situations,
yeah.
because I know the character before I even know the situation that I will end up putting them into.
Funny enough, that's the same thing as my mom said, and she's written
Really?
two, three, four, five books so far, and she always starts on the characters, and she picks people in real life that she wants to be talking about, and she was,
Yeah.
that person will be a great book person.
I
So
know, yeah.
she does the whole research of the person, and she keeps asking questions to people. I have a couple of friends that she actually said, oh, he's gonna be an amazing character. So she actually sent them emails asking questions to, how would
Yeah.
he react and this and this and that.
Clever,
I'm
actually.
not
That's very clever,
sure.
actually. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, mom, but it makes a lot of sense because if you do have, you know, the psychological profile of your character beforehand, you know what they're gonna do if this situation
Yeah.
happens. Which I thought, yeah,
And how you're gonna get out
yeah, I
of
can
it
do
when
that.
it happens.
And how you're gonna get out of it or not,
Or not,
because
yes, or
or
not.
not, because
For an experience theory, people like to read about people.
yeah,
The story could be fantastic, but at the end of the day, what will engage you and will keep you reading is because you care about that character, about that person, about, that's what gonna keep you reading. It's not the story. It's not even about the end of the story, in my opinion. It's about when you start to care about the character, you really want to know where it will take him or her on. So I think that's why as well when I write journalistic speaking, I always bring the character to the forefront of the story because I think if I can convince someone that's reading a journalistic piece that that person worth to caring about,
yeah,
they will read until the end. Because if I just talk about business numbers, just about how much revenue company A or B had, that is so boring. People don't want really to know because it's somebody else's money. People want to know about, okay, but what's the impact that that amount of revenue will have?
yeah,
Uh, the person that's leading that growth, how's that person like? What do they do differently from other companies that are struggling and firing people because they are losing so much money? So people don't want to know about the money, about the success of companies. They want to know you. And that's the experience from journalism. They want to know about the success of the people behind it. If they fail or if they succeed, they want to know that bit because that's more
they're
relatable. That's
invested, isn't it?
yeah, they do.
Yeah. No, so here is a tip for every single one of you writers on Substack and everywhere that's watching that characters matter, and the people are gonna want to buy people. Simple like that. Um, uh, what would you tell someone that is just starting then, apart from
Journalism?
characters matter? Yeah, someone that's getting started on journalism, on writing, on directing, because I know you directed loads of stuff as well. You directed a movie that I, you know,
Yes.
did filming as well. Yes.
We got used to that got picked up for the Portobello Film Festival.
Yeah.
It was amazing back then. I think we shot in Wimbledon, wasn't it? In
Yeah.
Wimbledon,
Was all over
and it was
Wimbledon.
amazing. I think what I would tell people, Yuri, is something that I wish I knew when I was starting. And I briefly mentioned today that when I started as a journalist, I thought that I would have to be just a journalist. I would not be able to multitask, to do other things. And part of it, I blame the university because I don't know if it's still like that, but when I started, when I was studying at the university 25 years ago, um, at the beginning, the first couple of years, you have the same classes that everybody else has. And then at certain point, you have to pick a lane. You have to either divert to radio journalism or TV journalism or print journalism. You have really to specialize in something. Even though the graduation is communications, you have to be graduating in a specific major in a specific level. At least it was 25 years ago. And because of that, I always had a lot of problem in terms of diversify what I do. I always had that idea that I have to do just one thing because that's the thing that I chose. So what I would say to people starting now is you don't have to do just one thing. If you like journalism, you can do a digital format. You can make a short film and bring that experience interviewing people to the short film. You can become a content creator, an influencer, or whatever you call. You can do so many things and you still be a journalist. It will make you even better if you have different outlets, different ways of learning how to tell a story. So I think that's what I would say to people. Just do a lot of everything. don't really stay in a single lane, doing just one format, if just one sort of journalism, covering just one topic, tech or business or lifestyle. Don't do just one thing. We are so creative, and today with the internet and with all social medias and everything else, all the accessibility that we have. It's so much easier to be multitasking, to do different things. You're just gonna have to find the time, of course, to be
Yeah,
that multitasker. But I wish I had done it earlier in my life. I think I would have had so much more fun in journalism if I were not so restricted. And that's my fault. I did it. If I was not so restricted to be just a journalist and nothing else.
yeah. Wow, that was deep, and it makes sense, especially in the world that we are in right now. If you are getting into anything that has communication related, your boss, your first boss especially, will request so much more from you
Yeah,
than it is what your job description says. So if you're being hired to be a social media manager, you're going to be a social media manager, a PR person, a designer, photographer, all of it in one. If you're being hired to be a journalist, you actually need to know how to use your camera, how to edit everything. So everything needs to be so more multi layer, so it makes
absolutely.
so that is an amazing contribution
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
that.
And there's a way as well to find what you like because maybe you're gonna do five different things and you're gonna find that you really don't enjoy as much two of them. So it's about as well to find and to get very closer to what you want to be doing for a long term as a proper career for 10 years, 15, 20 years down the line. It's a way as well if you do so many things at the same time. There will be those ones that will really be passionate about, and those ones that you're gonna feel like doing it, but as a burden. And when it starts to feel like a burden, then you know that that probably is not for you.
Yeah, exactly. Now, just to finish, because I have just realized we've been on for about an hour and 1 minute at the moment, and right, and I've been trying to, keep it to an hour, just because
Okay,
otherwise, I know, especially when the two of us talking, we can go for hours without realizing the time.
right, isn't it? Oh,
So I've been trying to keep the podcast for about 1 hour long. So just to finish now quickly. Uh,
yep.
when you look back at your career, right? What impact you hope you've left on people that you've worked with, people that have read, people that are your audience? What sort of impact you hope that you left to everyone?
Oh, that's a very difficult question, even especially for a wrap up. I never thought of it actually, because I don't think you realize the impact until people actually come to you with that feedback. Um, I think what I would love people to always thinking of me is being professional, even when I was under stress or when I was really, really pressed by a deadline. And you worked with me to different occasions for a long time. I always tried to be as polite as possible, to never lose my temper. Um, I think
Yeah, that's
nowadays even
true. I don't
more.
think I've ever seen you losing your temper. To be
No, but that's a work that I always do with myself. I always try to put myself in somebody else's shoes. And journalism, especially newsrooms, is a very it's like a pressure cooker. It's a lot of pressure because news they change by the minute. Sometimes you spend 2 hours writing something, and by the time that you finish and goes to proofread, the story has developed into something else,
yeah,
and you have to adapt and you have the pressure of the time to publish it or to send to a printer that usually is a third company that's hired to do it. So it's a lot of pressure there, and things sometimes can get out of control as well because you have the pressure that comes from the commercial department asking you to interview people that they think that maybe going to become a client or something.
yeah,
So you have to balance a lot as well to not mix so much commercial side with journalism, proper journalism. But in every time, I think the impact that well, at least I hope people think of it is you don't have to lose your temper. You don't have to be rude to people, even especially people that are below you. You don't have it in any way, shape, or form. to treat differently someone that is a CEO or just a trainee is starting out, their first job, not even well paid. I think you have to have that filter, Yuri, because you cannot learn that at work. You have to bring that value. Those values you have to bring from home, you have to bring with you.
Yep.
Because if you don't have it, the work environment, be it a newsroom or any other place that you go to work, it will just make it worse because it will enhance if you have any problem in dealing with people in counting until 10 when you don't like something or when you don't like the way that someone talked to you. Don't say something back. Don't react to it in a way that's gonna cause even further conflict or friction. I think it's avoid friction at all costs because at the end of the day, it's a work. You have to be there to do your job and do it well,
Yeah.
of course. But then it ends and you go back to your life, to your family. So don't let those things affect your mood, your day, your health, your mental health. And so I think avoid those frictions because if you think that you're gonna be worthwhile to get into an argument, that's gonna just destroy your day really. And then you go back thinking about what you said or mumbling like, "Oh, I should have said that. I should have said that." And don't, just
Gosh,
don't.
yes. I do that a lot.
Just
I do that a lot, and Amy, she gets mad at me because uh we sometimes we have arguments because it's one of her sports having arguments. And you know, we go rah, and I say things, and I was like, then I sit down and we calm down and all that. The whole thing has is gone, so I go back and I said, well, I just thought of this. Things should have said that, and I could have done that, and I'm sorry because of that. But you are right, wrong because of that. So I replayed the whole thing in my head, and I tried to actually fix
I
it
think you
afterwards.
honestly, people would be happier and more careful what they say if they realized, and that I'm gonna just plug your product now, if they realized how portable vibes are. Everything that you do during your day, it reflects in your evening, and vice versa. If you do something in the evening, if you get into a fight, a discussion, it will reflect the way that you sleep. So vibes, they are very portable because you carry those with you, even when you think that you don't. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and see, people thinking, if people had thought more about things, they would just dismiss things and say, "Oh, I'm not going to care about it." Like, and you see neighbors fighting because someone parked a little inch over your pavement, or the bin was a bit out of the place, and that is so little in the big scheme of things when we think there are countries out there in war, there are people losing their houses and not having a shelter to go
yeah,
to. You know what I mean? So those little things that sometimes, as you said, that you pick up fights and you think and keep replaying that fight in your head. Those little things are so little when you compare to the big scheme of things, really.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, amazing plug, better than I could have done. There we go. Well, no, thank you very much for coming up to. Yeah, I just
Thank
got a
you for
message
having me.
from Amy as well. She said sorry she's not here for the first one, but she's in a couple of meetings that could not be
Fine.
put backwards. And well, thank you, and I'm. It's an incredible pleasure to have you in the first one of the Portable Vibe Post podcast. And yeah, love to have you back again at some point.
Thank you, Yuri, and the pleasure is mine. And I promised I will keep you posted about most of London and everything else that's coming up shortly. Thank you
Perfect.
again.
Let us know. All right. Thank you
I
very
will.
much, everybody, for watching. And that is a wrap for us. Thank you very much. And I hope you have a great day. See you later. Bye.